Good morning from off of Cape Blanco, about 130 miles out. So last night we were basically becalmed, and then we slowly increased, and it was pretty nice sailing until 1 a.m. And at 1 a.m. it just piped right up to what we're seeing right now. Pretty steady 25, like gusting 30. Really confused, choppy seas right now because this all just started 5 hours ago, so hopefully it's going to get a little more organized. But it looks like we're in for it for the next little while. Probably all the way to San Francisco is going to be kind of like this. Yeah, so Cape Mendocino area. Been looking at the weather forecast for this area for a couple months, and almost always it's blowing pretty close to a gale in this vicinity. And so today's definitely no exception.
Almost immediately upon the winds kicking up, Kat became violently seasick. During the first few moments of this gale, she was able to help reef the sails, but shortly after, she got into her bunk where she would end up staying until we arrived in Drake's Bay 3 days later. With over 300 miles left to go, it was really hard to see Kat so sick, knowing that getting her to protected waters was the only real cure.
One saving grace here is it's quite warm out. Probably like 15, 17 degrees. If this was further north, it would be cold, miserable. It's been a little bit of rain, but I don't think the rain's going to last too long. It could be well sunny tomorrow or the next day as we get near San Francisco. Just heavy wind. There's a cross swell where it's a westerly swell, and then the wind waves, of course, are northerly with the wind. And so you get these pretty weird undulations at times where you kind of pick which wave to ride down. We're changing our course a little bit so we're more on a broad reach. That's going to start bringing us back towards land. There's no reason to be this far out anymore because the wind is just as strong everywhere. We're trying to be far from Cape Mendocino, but it's just as bad out here. So.
Affected include coastal Gale north, are expected from 2 p.m. this afternoon to 8 p.m. this evening. Impacts: large, unexpected waves can sweep across the beach without warning.
So it's evening time here on Seagram and Clyde, and we're cruising through this, I'd call it a marginal gale. Maybe it's not quite 35, but pretty damn close. And as we get ready for the next evening here, the waves have really formed into just big, slow moving things. It's a lot more manageable than it was before.
As the second night approached, I was filled with a certain amount of dread. I was already tired, worried about Kat, and fearful that conditions would deteriorate further. The winds did increase, but as they did, the seas became far more manageable and organized. There was no way out of this, so we did our best to stay hydrated, fed, and rested as the winds continued to howl.
Heavy going here with defined 40 knot gusts. Gonna stick around for about 30 seconds and then they ease off. It's got the streaking white foam, which is an indicator of 40 knots. And there's really defined sets of waves. Right now we're in between sets, it's just like 5 foot wind waves, and then it comes in like 4 sets of 4 or 5, and they are probably 15 feet tall, something like that. It's really hard to say, and very hard to show on camera. I reduced the jib a little more, and that really has helped. Before we were getting these like surfs that would end with the side deck getting swept with water, because the sail would catch a bunch of wind as we got kind of sent into the beam. But this has eased it. We're still making a good pace. Another sunny, though windy as hell day out here in the Pacific Ocean. We're past Cape Mendocino now, about 100 miles off of it, and angling towards San Francisco now. We're about 212 miles left to go to Drake's Bay, where we're gonna gleefully pull into and drop the anchor and catch up on some well-days sleep. And so we'll be there in less than 48 hours now. But in the meantime, we're cruising along at what we want to be around 5.2 knots. So kind of the hope is 5 knots daily average, and we're getting 120 miles a day. That's the report for now. I'm gonna nap out here. It's hard sleeping downstairs. It's noisy and the motion's pretty wild, but the cat's still feeling sick down below. So I've just been tending to her when I can. I'll let myself get sick down there. Make sure she's at least drinking some water. Our second full night of this weather. It's definitely a little spicier than yesterday evening. The seas are fairly organized and it's not really throwing many surprises at us. So also it's perfectly clear out, so that it should be brighter tonight with the stars. So we're just getting ready for it, drinking lots of water, eating some food in us.
When we departed Nia Bay, Washington, the forecast model showed we would experience some 30-knot gusts as we neared San Francisco. The typical heavy winds around Cape Mendocino, California were forecast to stay within about 100 miles of shore, so we aimed to stay about 150 miles out to avoid them. While forecasting has improved greatly since years past, sometimes the models do change. Overnight, the wind and the sea state increased substantially. Several breakers smacked the side of the boat, filling the cockpit with water in the process. While the prevailing seas were enormous at a solid 20 foot, with monsters of likely 30 feet rolling through, the most troublesome waves were these pesky 6 to 10 foot buggers that would sneak in from a different angle, smack the side of the boat, sending spray that would completely soak whoever was on the helm. By the time this footage was shot, I'd been on the helm for some 5 hours straight. Kevin was doing a solid job, but at that time, I felt there was some risk of being knocked down by a large breaker, and as skipper, I did not want to put that risk on him. Soaked to my underwear, absolutely exhausted, but confident in my ability, I found myself in a meditative state. Watch the waves, steer away from the breakers, duck my head when spray comes, repeat. During that night, I also started hearing things that were not there. I was imagining there was a radio on somewhere near the back of the boat, and it was on repeat. It was driving me crazy. I'd not slept for some 60 hours, so I wasn't all that surprised I was starting to hear things. Despite this, I was still alert, and I felt my ability to make safe decisions was still sound. As daylight broke, there was a brief lull in the wind. I thought, finally, it's going to subside, but it was not to be, and moments later the wind kicked up even stronger. Within a matter of 20 minutes of sustained 40-knot winds blowing, the seas became much more violent, and out of the blue, a wave far bigger than any others reared up above the stern of Seadream Clyde, and then broke. I yelled to Kevin, "Hold on!" and steered the boat dead downwind. Seadream surfed this enormous wave, accelerating us beyond the power of the breaking water. While the cockpit did fill with water, I was relieved and also thought to myself, damn, we can do this.
So we just changed our course, and we're on our last home stretch into Drake's Bay. We've gone for the first time now, rather than running with it, we are now running across it. Almost being reached. Just riding it through. Captain on the helm. Killing it.
Wow, this is a wild scene right now. Smoky sun.
We're 73.4 nautical miles at it.
Yeah.
I think right where we need to go.
The sea's really flattened out, eh?
Yeah.
In terms of breakers.
So it's probably 25 knots of wind now?
Yeah.
Like that, you just came out in the first gust in like an hour.
Yeah. The sunset gusts. Alright, this is our last night at sea. We'll be arriving in Drake's Bay probably around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And we're pointing right at it right now. It's a pretty good can spray over the bow, getting closer to the wind than we have the whole trip really. And smell of wildland smoke now coming off the land here. But things are supposed to mellow out in the coming hours and should just be a real nice finish to this trip after 72 hours of gales. Woo! It's been spicy. I haven't really slept for 72 hours, maybe a couple naps. That's about it. So I'm really looking forward to putting my head down once we get to anchor. But what a trip. The last 3 days have been some of the most difficult sailing I've ever had in my life. Just the lack of sleep, the constant movement of the boat, and just high stress all around. But things are easing off now, and the seas are organized, and we're not that far away. So just gotta watch out for occasional breakers, like one that just passed here. See the streaks to not totally soak me. But got the tarp wrapped around me, and it's into my one of my last night shifts of this journey here. Woo!
As the sun set, I was feeling a great sense of relief knowing that this would be the final night of what had turned into a really difficult trip. Well, the seas were still very rough, and we had to remain vigilant. I knew we would make it safely to calm anchorage really soon. We all needed the rest, but most importantly, Kat needed to hydrate and eat as soon as possible.
It's been a week since we left Nia Bay now, and we're just 25 miles left to go here until we're at Drake's Bay. We're gonna set the anchor, go to sleep. The night went really well. The weather conditions consistently subsided until they were at where they are now. No breakers, a couple of cresters here and there, but that might slap the boat, but that's it. And I've just rolled the rest of the Genoa out, which was rolled in for 80 hours or something. It was Kat was having a bit of a hard time, just having been seasick for so long. The difference between reality and our dreams is sometimes crossing and not knowing what was going on, like thinking she was ashore and then feeling the boat move all of a sudden was freaking her out. So I went down a little early off my night watch and just held her and looked after her. And I'm sure looking forward to the boat being still for her and for myself too, but mostly for her, getting water in her. It's been a tough trip. I felt pretty exhausted. I still do. I did catch some sleep last night, finally. That's where we're at. Well, there's forest fire smoke obscuring the land, so the obligatory land ho is going to have to probably wait until we're almost there, it would seem. Well, as I kind of expected would happen, the gale, remnants of the gale, gets the last laugh. There's too much leftover swell and chop here to sail with the bit of wind that exists. Sails are just starting to flop around, we're going 2 knots, so I have kicked the engine on with 20 miles left to go. Well, a beautiful change has occurred. The wind came up from the south, of all things, so we're getting a different tack, and we're sailing as fast as I was morning. Actually, pretty good clip here. 6, even 7 knots. It's hard to tell with the swell, but we are, I believe, now under 10 miles from the point where we turn into the bay, so we should be out of the swell in something like 8 or 9 miles, an hour and a bit. I am thrilled, and gosh, it just feels good to be near land, even though we can't see it still. 8 miles out, we can't say land ho yet. Okay, we are entering Drake's Bay and just about to get out of the swell. Finally, after a whole week. We've been in the swell for a week right now. And we are going to be anchoring 6 days, 23 hours, and 55 minutes after we left the dock in the bay. We'll do an interview after. And he's got a freaking huge glass of rum. Cheers! Yay! We made it. We're making it. 850 miles or something like that, whatever it was, through 72 hours of gale weather. That was nuts! Cheers.
That was nuts.
Water for this girl. Okay. Wow. That was like legit 72 hours of gale force wind, and I think topping at 45 knots at times, like sustained 40, not just gusts. And the boat doesn't look too bad considering, but let's have a little look around to see the conditions of everything. So this is a bunch of stuff, wet cushions. We just sort of committed some cushions to being totally soaked. Here's Kat, who is also in a bit of a wrecked state, but starting to hydrate and about to eat food. She's excited, and
I haven't had anything really in my stomach since the start of the trip.
yeah, it's been hard.
Yeah.
Up front, we just have some stuff drying, random stuff, not so bad. Everything's covered in salt. And then let's have a look downstairs where it's a little more chaotic.
Come in.
Here's what ended up being pretty much Kevin's grotto. Back here, not bad, a bunch of crap on the floor, but that's a fine place for it, really. There's the sea anchor, we just had it handy, just in case. Nav station's looking pretty sharp. This was Kat's little zone that she hung out in for basically 7 days. That's not pee, that's juice in a bottle. Cushions, some clothes. This is just a pile of wet, salty clothing of mine down there. Here's the V-berth. I was sleeping like this way on it because I found that to be more comfortable than like rolling back and forth. I could just kind of position myself like that, and it wasn't so bad. In the bathroom, it looks fine. It's kind of gross though. It needs a good sanitizing, but that is what Sea Dream looks like after a week at sea, with its diligent crew doing their best during some really hard conditions. Kevin is making Mr. Noodle, healthy meal right out the gate here after rum, and we're just gonna sit here and make food and drink water and probably go to shore a little later this afternoon once we have some energy. After a bit of R&R, we're getting ready to go to shore. Kat's starting by dealing with a wild rat's nest of hair like I did a little while ago.
Oh my gosh, I just got out the worst of it. It was just like one
See the brush?
nappy.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was bad.
And I'm inflating the dinghy here to get us to shore as well. It was good it was stowed. If it was on the davits, we got just destroyed and probably tore the davits off. So here we are, the ocean behind us and on firm land. Feels pretty good.
Setting foot on land felt incredible. We slowly explored the gorgeous arid landscape we had found ourselves in. While there was a lot to process after such a stressful and trying experience, in this moment we were all filled with joy. It was a wild start to this journey, and while no one aboard desired such a thrashing, we did it, and we made it safely to California after exactly 7 days. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying these videos and want to contribute directly to the making of them, please check out our Patreon page linked below. Bye for now!